Yeah, hello and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going down to the water here in Aalborg where I live, and it's because I'm going to make a video about long exposure, and I'll talk about what you need to do this and how you can do it. So I'm very excited to come down there and see if there's some waves, because they are very important when you're making long exposure with water. So, yeah, as you can see here in the background, the Limfjord near where I live in Aalborg, and today is going to be about how I make long exposure with water, and also I'll talk about in general what you need to do this, and also long exposure without these things. So I hope you find this video interesting and want to join me down to the water. Yeah, in here my pouch, I have my little bag with my small tripod that I will use today, together with this old school tripod I found years ago, and explain that later. And to make long exposure, as I will do now, you need some kind of tripod, perhaps like this, or the bigger one that I'll show you later. But you also need an ND filter, neutral density filter. And what that's do is putting a sunglass over your lens, so that the exposure will be longer. You see here. And I got this, an ND filter from Benro, I think it's called, and I just screw it on here, and it's a 10-time ND filter. That means that exposure will be turned down 10 times, and that's so I can expose it longer than I would without it. Less light are coming in through the lens, and I can make it a long exposure. This is for all cameras, and yeah, I got a Leica, and I'll show you how I do this in the settings. So now we're good to go. ND filter 10 times, and I have to put the exposure so it fits my needs. And when you do such long exposure, it is very important to have something in the water that is stable. Otherwise it will not be as good as you want it to be. Yeah. So turn on the camera, I put it on aperture 16, and then I put this one on 1 second. And then I can see in here, I have, if I press this, you can see 1 second, and then I can put it up here, 20 seconds. I can do this too, 10 seconds. So let's see. Yeah, you can see it's almost correct exposed. And of course I have to focus like this. And then I have the focus on the small stick that is coming up of the water. And in the background you can see the power plant. And today there's some nice clouds taken up. Yeah, visibly. And I think I can bring it up to 12 seconds. Yeah. Yeah, and I also have this, I customized this button so I have it on self-timer 2 seconds. You can see here, 2 seconds. And that means when I press this, it will wait 2 seconds until it takes the picture. And then it's going to expose for 12 seconds, and then the noise reduction will turn on. And I use this because I found out it's actually better with a noise reduction on long exposure. Yeah. So we got the image, and let's see how it looked. Yeah, you can see here, I showed when I come home how it turned out. I think I'll take one more and see if I can turn it up to 14 seconds, 15 seconds. Yeah. And then again, self-timer, 2 seconds. And then in progress, 15 seconds. It has a better effect when there are more waves here. And have a couple of images I would like to share with you when I come home so you can see the difference. But today I'm going to make it this way. Noise reduction, yeah, there you can see. I'm going to take a picture without the ND filter, so you can see the difference between with or without it. And then of course, when I screw it off, it'll be much brighter here. Yep. And I have to turn this down. Put my lens hood on again. Yeah. And then I can see, if I look at the picture and look at this, it's almost the same exposure. Beside I have a 16th of a second, and I take a picture here. I don't need the self-timer here. I just take a picture. So this was it. Now I'm going to make a picture with my high tripod so you can see the difference, because there's also a difference if you take it in a low position or in a high position. And of course here I don't have anything in the foreground. Not much. And then I take a normal exposure, 1,000 of a second, aperture about 4. Yeah. And then I have to put the ND filter on again. And again, about 12 seconds. And then I take a long exposure again. Noise reduction. Yeah. So this was it. I'm going home and continue this little video while I show you the pictures and talk about long exposure in general. So yeah, just have to put my stuff in my little bags, then we're good to go. And those of you who saw my video with my bags, I put 2 new ones on. This is for an extra battery and this is for SD cards I can have. So I have it all here in this little bag. And of course in here I have my little tripod that I always bring with me if I want to make a long exposure somewhere. And beside that, in this bag I have my cleaning kit that I will use when I come home. Because there's a little bit of sand on my equipment, so this is a good thing. Yeah. And I put links for all my gear. My bags I made myself, but my tripod, the small one, this one is an old one I got many years ago. I don't think you can buy it second hand, but it's not made anymore. It's from I think about the 50s. But I found some information about this tripod and I'll put that in my video description as well, so you can find this awesome little tripod, old school. Yeah, and now I'm back home and editing my video and my photographs, my pictures on my computer, my Mac. And for those of you who are interested in such things, I use iMovie for my editing on my video footage. and I use the photo app on my Mac for editing my photographs. And I don't use Lightroom or Capture One or such programs. I use this program. It's very simple, and there's a reason for that. I'm not interested in making a lot of editing on my photographs. I want it to be like in the old days when I made my black and white prints in my darkroom. I had some tools there I could use, and I tried to do that on the computer as well. But of course there's something new. I can edit my color profiles. I always use my raw files to editing first, and then I convert them to black and white. And I think that's a good solution. Maybe I'll get Capture One sometime in the future. I don't have the money for that now, so for now I editing my photograph, my pictures on this app, Photo on the Mac, and I think it's okay. Yeah. But now I want to show the pictures I took on my trip to this Limfjord here in Denmark and talk about long exposure. And I also have some other pictures that I have been taking in the last couple of months regarding long exposure, and talk about them and the techniques behind them. So yeah, hope you like this too. And this is the first picture I took. You can see 12 seconds, and you can definitely see that the water is moving. And then I tried to make it on 15 seconds. You can see it here. It's a little bit more moving in the water, and especially in the foreground you can see it's more blurred there. And here the last picture was taken in a 16th of a second, and you can see the water is completely frozen, and you can see all the details in the bottom of the water. And here the picture that was I took with the high tripod, and it's 1,000 of a second, and you can see the water is frozen, and yeah, also the windmills in the background. And here the same picture, 12 seconds exposure, and you can see the water is very smooth. The clouds are moving, and also the windmills, you can see that they are moving too. Yeah, and as I said in the beginning of this video, the more movement that there are in the water, the better. And I took the next couple of pictures another day when I was out, the same place, but there was more wind and more moving in the water, and you can see it's another effect. It's almost a dreamlike effect, like smoke on the water. I like it a lot. There was not many clouds that day, so there were no movement in the clouds, but you can definitely see it in the windmills. And again, 12 second exposure here. And the same day, 10 seconds exposure. And again, 10 second exposure that day. I made it a little bit lighter so the water will not be so dark. And I think it's having a good effect on this picture. And another place I experimented with long exposure. You can see here 12 seconds. And the difference when you take it on 60 of a second. And on this picture I experimented with 1 second, and there's not much effect on this. 4 seconds exposure, you can see here there's movement in the clouds and in the bush in the background that indicate this is a long exposure. And this picture I'm very pleased with it. It's 4 second exposure, and I think it's giving the picture a little bit of mystery. The water in the foreground that is smooth and almost like a mirror. Yeah, and in this picture you can see it's not working great. You can see the water is moving, but it almost looks like a carpet, and there's no contrast. It's very dark, so I don't think this is a good example for a long exposure. And now some examples with long exposure where I didn't use a tripod on my ND filter. You can see here 1/8 of a second, and there's moving in the train. And if you have a steady hand, you should experiment a little bit by doing this. It's very easy, and the next example you can see how the effect is. Half a second exposure is good for these kind of motifs, but not on the street where the people are walking, because it will be too much blur, and this picture only works because the one person in the picture is standing still. And an eighth of a second is perfect for people moving. You can still see the contour of them, and the narrative with the man sitting begging on the street is perfect for this. And in this last example, you can see even in 125th of a second, you can have movement in your picture. So it's not always necessary to have a long exposure in your picture if you want a certain effect. Yeah, this was all for now. I hope you enjoyed this little video and found it interesting. Perhaps you learned a thing or two about long exposure. Yeah, and I've been taking pictures for many years, and in the old days when I used film, I experimented with long exposure as well. And now I bought my Leica and ND filter, and I'm going again trying to experiment in certain conditions during night in the city, during rainy days and so on. And yeah, there's a lot of opportunity you can explore in this area. Thank you very much for watching my videos. Give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you're not already doing that. And then I hope to see you again on the next one. Bye bye.